What is up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. I'm your host, as always, Kevin Coleman at DuBois_22. And we're back. And hey, it's Monday. If you're watching this on a Monday, we're releasing this video on Monday. And we'd like to do some mock drafts on this. So we're coming back, and out of the holidays, we're going to think a Dynasty mock draft. And what I did is I got together a bunch of guys and analysts and fans and guys that I really respect and trust. And we said, hey, let's do a Dynasty mock draft. So the parameters for this mock draft, it's a 12-team Dynasty mock draft with its tight end premium. So this is a little different. We haven't done this yet on the channel in terms of like tight end premium. Tight end premium is usually the base for dynasty mocks or dynasty leagues in general. Tight end premium definitely is growing there, and I wanted to kind of highlight where these tight ends are going, and we're going to talk about some things, some trends that I've been seeing doing some of these dynasty mocks like I've been doing multiple a week, kind of giving you guys some ideas of where this at, where's value at, where are guys at. So let's jump into it. So we're going to go through rounds 1 through 3 and then just kind of go through all the rounds. It's 12 rounds. I found after 12 it gets kind of convoluted in there, but let's go through rounds 1 through 3. So first, when we're talking about just where everybody's at, so I had the first pick in this draft, and it kind of goes through. So Allen is pretty much the consensus 101 in Superflex. So we think it's starting 2 quarterbacks, right? The biggest value change that we saw was Justin Fields. So Justin Fields probably, when you're looking at what the last mock that we did, he went in the second round. Now he's up into the 106. So we're looking at Justin Fields, and hey, he was QB1 up until this last week. So I don't know necessarily if that's a reach. Now he went before Herbert. What do we think about that? So in the comments below, what do we think? Should he be going before Herbert? Should he be going after Herbert? What do we think about Herbert's value here? So Hurts went at the QB4. We have Justin Jefferson snuck in there at the 104, and I think that's kind of interesting. I love it. Psych Ward, my guy, and he's going, hey, I'm going to go just wide receivers. I love his start there. Jefferson Waddle. I mean, I absolutely love that start there. So when you're looking at like where the value is at, right? So I think the biggest value shift is Fields. When you're going through there, and then you have Herbert, you have Burrow, and then Chase, and you got Kyle Pitts at the 110, and that caused a little controversy out there on the timeline. And they're like, hey, why would Pitts still go on the first? And I think you're still projecting like upside, right? When we're thinking of like what he is, I think in tight end premium, you're gonna take upside there. Now, do you like that? I don't know. What do you guys think there? I think it's a little early for me. I don't think I would have taken Pitts there, just because he just hasn't lived up to those expectations that you'd like to see. And Andrews is still going in the second round. If I know I can get Andrews in the second round, I think you have to go quarterback in the first, and then you can just try to grab Andrews. Like Herbert Andrews is a great start. Like I love that start. Herbert Andrews is one of the best starts that of anybody up on this board right here. So in just in terms of the value there, I love that pick. Now, my least favorite pick is probably going to be Javonte Williams at the 308. Now, I did a YouTube video for football guys, and I talked about Javonte's injury. Javonte's injury is a legitimate injury where he's going to have surgery. The recovery is going to be on that. He's probably not going to get the normal next year. And in the year after that, like that's when you're looking at it. And that's kind of that's an asset that I don't think I want right now. Like just, I don't think I'm going to go down that route. Like you could get Chubb, which he does in the next round in that area. But I think I'm just not going to take that risk, right? I could grab T. Higgins right there, just go 0 running back. Imagine pairing T. Higgins with Lamb, and then you have Burrow right there with the stack, like which I know in Dynasty isn't as sought after like it is in best ball and other things. But I think that just the value there, DK is still on the board. Like there's a lot of known pieces, and especially for me when I try to build my Dynasty rosters through wide receivers, it's not a terrible pick. Like I like Javonte. I liked Javonte before the injury. The injury concerns me overall. Now some other things that I definitely noticed there. McCaffrey at the 210, I think is a pretty good value. He's going to go in that mid-second round, late second round. I like that. Lamar is getting drafted at the 103. Do we trust Lamar being at the 103? We don't know his dynasty forecast next year. What does that look like? Do you trust him more than Hurts and Fields and these guys and Herbert? Like I think Lamar is getting drafted to the ceiling, right? So when we're thinking of that, I think we're a little nervous there. Now I went Diggs and Hall. And again, Hall's injury is a little bit different. I like the Diggs pick, stacking with Allen there. Maybe you should have went Walker based on what Walker's been doing, right? So where is Hall at in terms of his value? And when you're looking at the running backs, I mean, Hall was running back 3. I think the one thing I was going to show you guys is like after Lawrence. So if you look at the 203 right there with the quarterback position, it gets really, really, there's a tier break, right? Lance, we don't know what that is. He's at the 204. Then you have Russell Wilson at the 208. Do you guys really trust Russell Wilson at the 208? Like when you're looking at value at the quarterback position, and then you move around, like there's a clear tier break. So if you're drafting in the first through probably 7 picks right there, 8 picks, you have to take a quarterback. Let's just look at the quarterbacks off the board. And then when it flips around, you have to hope that one of those guys like Tua or Watson or Lawrence falls to you. Now, if you trust Lance, which I'm a Lance person, I think Lance has upside there, but that's still a lot of risk, right? So I think the one thing I wanted to make sure everybody understands is that there's a clear tier break at that quarterback position. And then when it flips around at the turn, if you're picking first, it is so hard to reach a quarterback. I mean, the next quarterback that went was Zach Wilson, and this is right before he got benched. So when we're thinking of value and we're thinking of that, it is a clear tier break. And so that's something to know when you go into your dynasty drafts. I know some people out there are doing these things, so know there. Now, let's go to rounds 4 through 6, and what do we have here? Now, one of the biggest value changes, Cooper Kupp. Cooper Kupp was going to the first and second round in all these mocks that I've been doing, and now he fell to the 401. Again, if this is where the value is at, and I thought Aiden did a good job when you're looking at his draft. He went Kyler Murray, Watson, Metcalf, Kupp. Like, that is legitimate. And then you have Devonta Smith and Treylon Burks. Like, he did pretty good in terms of how he's building. I love the way he built, and he went 0 running back for sure because he didn't draft one. But when you're looking at how he kind of built his roster, I don't hate that. I actually really like that. But that is a value change for Kupp. Now, my favorite pick is Amon-Ra St. Brown. I thought he went in a good spot. I thought he was a value at the 504. Think about guys who went before him, like, hey, Jameson Williams, Michael Pittman, like some of these guys that maybe like, hey, maybe Amon has that special. I know some people believe in Amon being a top 12 wide receiver from that point. After that, Debo went, when you're looking at there, my least favorite pick is probably Dameon Pierce. And the reason why I say that is just because I think he reached a little bit on this pick. So if you're looking at the draft board, he had taken Fields, Brown, and Hill, which I really like. And I think he thought, hey, I need a running back at this spot, but he could have grabbed Garrett Wilson there. Like, he could have grabbed even, Michael Pittman. He could have grabbed Derrick Henry if you want to go running back there. Dameon Pierce just feels like a scary asset to own right now, just based on what we know about day 3 running backs and even the draft capital thing. So to me, my least favorite pick there was Dameon Pierce, but you can pause, you can see the board. Other groups, Dolchitz, I think is good. Talking about tight ends, right? So when we're looking at tight ends, just go over. Kyle Pitts was tight end 1 at the 110. Andrews was tight end 2 at the 206. And then we have to go all the way to the 410 for tight end 3 at Kelsey. And Kelsey just seems like he's just going to keep rolling here. And this is tight end premium. So again, premium has scared people because that tight end position is so barren. Then tight end 4 is Hawkinson at the 506. And then tight end 5 is Kittle at the 511. And after that, you kind of have that tight end dead zone. Kind of Goddard is at the 602. Dolchich 603. That was a big value shift. I could have put him on the biggest value change. Freiermuth at the 605. Schultz at the 609. So it is interesting kind of where those tight end tiers are. So you're either taking Pitts and Andrews in the first two rounds, or you're just going to wait to the 4th, 5th, and 6th and grab one. If I'm not getting Kelsey there, though, I think I'm going to kind of wait. And I think that's going to be the move again in Dynasty and tight end position. Now, let's go through round 7 and 9 and what we're looking at there. So when you're looking at 7 and 9, and we're kind of going through here, biggest value change is Darren Waller. So Waller's going at the 801 now. Like, so he flipped at the turn there. And you can see it there. Like, he has dropped considerably, even in tight end premium, getting Waller there. Now, depending on what you think of his health and what that offense is going to look like, we don't know what the Raiders are going to look like. They're kind of a mess right now. What are they going to look like? If we think that they're going to be bounced back next year, that's going to be values. Now we're going to look for values here. And I think if Waller can be that guy, he's that late round tight end that you're going to grab on a win now roster. And he definitely built a win now roster with this without taking a running back. We'll get into that. But I think that's a value change to kind of notice. That's a value shift to kind of notice. Maybe he's a buy low right now. If you're a rebuilding team, but you're a 1 year out rebuilding team, Waller could be that guy you go take. Now, my favorite pick was Rachaad White. I thought this was great value for Rachaad. We're seeing Rachaad really jump up right now in value, especially with him taking the full workload. He went at the 709, and I thought that was a great pick. I mean, Aaron Jones is out there, Ramondre Stevenson, Jacobs, like in that area, Dobbins. I'd probably lean Rachaad White right now over Dobbins, just based on what we know and value, right? Cook went right after that, but Rashaad's in there. Like, I think that was really good value there. It's one of my favorite picks, especially because he can be that running back one that you like to see in that offense, right? And we saw him not give up the receiving work. We saw that volume. Even when Fournette comes back, I think he's going to be a value if they bring him back. I mean, there's ways they can get out of that contract. Now, my least favorite pick was Kadarius Toney at 901. I just don't know if we could trust him anymore, right? So when we're thinking of Toney, like it's almost not worth drafting him. Again, he had 1 touchdown in that game with the Chiefs, and no one was covering him, and everybody kind of hyped him up. And then we're like, hey, what is Toney going to be from now on? And then he hasn't been on the field. He just can't stay healthy. And at the 901, I worry about that. With the Dylan Toney turn, like, I don't know what that person was thinking. Like, in terms of like, hey, Dylan hasn't shown much either. What is that Packers offense going to be? Toney's not going to be there. I understand they went running back, kind of no running back. They went Hall and then Dylan. I don't know what that is there. Now, when you're looking at other stuff, Trey McBride, he went at the 8-11. So when you're thinking of like at the end of the 8th, there again, the Njoku is in there. I thought that was pretty good value as well at the 808. Komet, I'm a little out on Komet in terms of value right there. I would just wait. I'd take the Njoku there, especially with Watson coming back. We're going to see that uptick. I wrote about it in Football Guys. Watson has thrown, I think it's 23 or 24% of his touchdowns to tight ends, and he hasn't really had talented tight ends when he's played with. So Njoku could see a big bump. So that's something to watch and to look for. But then when you flip it around there, I mean, other picks that are in that range, like I thought Mooney was in there. Hunt's an interesting pick at there. Boy, I liked Calvin Ridley pick. I think Calvin Ridley in the 9th is a good stash, especially Ayuk as well. I could have put that as my favorite pick in the 9th. Like there's a lot of kind of running wide receivers in this area. So keep that in mind as we're kind of going through these values. Now, the last 3 rounds, and then we'll get you guys out of here. My biggest value, Cade Otton in tight end premium. So we saw Cade kind of get jumped up into the 12th round. He was not going anywhere near that. He was going undrafted in every draft that I've done, every dynasty mock that I've done, and then he popped up in the 12th. So that's something to notice with Cade Otton and what he's been able to do. My favorite pick is Keenan Allen. Now, listen, what Keenan Allen's going to be is he's going to be that late round wide receiver that you can grab. He went at the 1104, and I understand the injury concerns, and I understand all of that, but he is still of age, right? When we're thinking of dynasty, he can still be a contributor. And I know he has the hamstring. I know he's got that stuff. But you're talking about a wide receiver 1 on the Chargers. And I do think they try to draft somebody or maybe bring somebody else in. But the wide receiver on the Chargers with Herbert, I still think that's that's a better value, right? You were probably drafting in the 3rd, 4th, 5th round last year. Now you're going to get him in the 11th, 12th, or 10th round, all about that value. So this is why we're trying to dictate it. This is why we're doing these right now, because this is the thing that you can see where the value's at and where people value them. And you could trade and have trade assets too. I know most of you aren't doing mocks right now or startups. Some of you crazy guys are, but right now this is where value's at. I think Keenan Allen, especially where his value is at, you can kind of move some pieces around. My least favorite pick is Malik Willis. I know why people take Malik Willis because, hey, he's a quarterback, and I understand the 23 class is not included in this, but Malik Willis is not going to be a starting quarterback in the NFL. Just based on what we've seen, I just don't see it, and I just think that's a wasted pick in that area. But when you're looking at all these all the way through, so Carson Wentz, 1109, hey, Jimmy G, I think is a good value. I thought that was a really, really good value for Snake there, and just idea of like what you could grab because he's probably going to get bounced around a little bit and he's going to go somewhere. So I thought that was great for him, grab a stash in a 3rd quarterback in this kind of draft there. Allen Robinson late, he got injured. He's going to be out for the year. Michael Thomas, Renshaw's just going for the all injured team and all underperforming team there. But I thought that was an interesting value there. So my biggest value change is Cade Otton. Favorite pick is Keenan Allen. Least favorite pick is Malik Willis. Now let's go through the final outlook and kind of look at all the teams. So this is the time where you can stop it. You can look at how everybody's build was. And what I like to do in mocks is just find out where builds are and then go from there and see, okay, how would I like to build my roster? So just looking at this, just going over, I'm going to pick the top 3 teams that I really like. So one, I really like Psych Ward's draft. Like I like that he got Jefferson, Waddle, ETN, and Wilson, St. Brown. Like those are 4 legit wide receivers. ETN is that kind of the anchor running back. Anchor running back is a strategy I love to utilize. It's something I highlight on Football Guys. It's something I'm going to keep talking about. But when you're looking at Jefferson, Waddle, ETN, Wilson, St. Brown, like that is legit. Dalton Schultz, I don't love or hate that pick. If he stays with Dallas, it's a good pick. And then Kirk. And then he went kind of 0 quarterback as well. He went Geno Smith and Ryan Tannehill. But if Geno comes back, they do have a top 5 pick currently right now. What are they going to do with that pick? But if Geno comes back in Tannehill, those are solid QBs that can get you there, right? So when you're thinking of it, you're thinking of that positional advantage at the wide receiver position can win you those leagues. And then I love Miles Sanders at the 10 on that. And now I know in the the 10th round is a good pick for him. Sanders has been a running back 1/2 all year, and he's going to be there. Now, are they going to bring him back? I think that's the question mark right now, but I think that's pretty good value. So I like Psych Ward's draft a lot. I really like J Snake DFF's draft. Herbert, Andrew Swift, London, Debo, Carr, Bateman. I like the value that he got there, especially that early start. Later, I think that gets a little risky, but overall, I do really like that. And I'm going to tell you right now, I thought William Wonka's draft high upside in those picks. And that's why I think I lean a little bit. I think Rondale Moore a little early in the 9th, but Chase, Lance, Higgins, Olave, Cousins, Jacobs, like that's not bad. I think that's more of a win now. And then got to shout out Aiden Maller. Hey, not go taking a running back. That's kind of how you build through your wide receivers. I thought you got good value throughout, and then you find those late round running backs. And I think that's the value. So I appreciate you guys tuning in. I hope you enjoyed it. And we want to continue to do these. Find me on Twitter and say, hey, I want to get in your next mock. just do it. Drop your at in below and say, hey, I want to get the next mock. Please, I want to get the next mock. We will get you on the mock and sleeper, and we will go from there. So I appreciate you guys tuning in. Hit that like and subscribe button. Let us know, who was your favorite team out of those guys? Where would you go differently? Would you draft Lamar Jackson that high? Do you think Justin Fields should be at the 106 before Herbert? Let us know in the comments. Give us that like and that subscribe. We really, hey, that's what helps us grow. That's what allows us to bring you guys content. So I appreciate you guys. I'll check you guys next time.